Hello, Astro Empires players. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Astro News Network once again. I think we might be able to just go ahead and change the name to the Babylon News Network because... What? What do you mean, what is that sound? Oh, Incap, I appreciate your Twitch Prime sub. You can't just say, what is that sound, when... and okay, I think War BV... like there's a bee in my mic. Let me turn it off and back on. That still seems pretty feedbacky. Okay. Wasn't doing this before. Let's check the properties. Don't like this big static. Wally wants his t-shirt back. If I was being Waldo, you wouldn't have found me so easily, Black Widow. Let's be real. But really, let's figure out the mystery of why my microphone is being a trash bag. That's the real question. Can I... yeah, potato mic, 10 of 10. Alright, let's... don't like this. Oh, come on, Mike. Be normal. Seems fine now. I didn't... Weird. Alright, we'll let it happen. Because I didn't even do anything that I thought would fix it. But we'll take those. Those count as wins. Alright. That was news. Hooray. Yeah, I'm in a room that echoes super hard. This is not the usual Astro News Network studio. It is a much smaller room with only boxes in it. Because I have still not moved into... I don't move into my house for another 2 weeks. So this is like temporary thing. So yeah, a little bit of an echo. Maybe next time Maybe next time I'll borrow that. We'll see. Probably not though. But as I was saying, there's not a lot going on in any server besides Babylon, and really not even that much is happening on Babylon. There was a big invasion on Antares, but nothing actually happened. Like, I don't even have any OPA propaganda to peddle this week. It's really slow on Antares and other servers. I mean, if we do want to talk about something, if I'm going to force it, there was a little bit of a crash that happened on Babylon. Kind of like a mini crash. The Clarkey Zerg, they snuck up and they derbed somewhere between 6 and 7 million of Stonk fleet and some Void fleet. But we'll talk about that more later. We do have Clarkey and Vorlon on from the Clarkey gang leadership to hear their story of the B00s so far. And I do, well, I've been complaining about them, I do have a little bit to talk about on some non-Babylon servers. So I'll spend a moment touching on those now, which we're going to start with Utopia, which Utopia is now a very, very, very important server. Arguably more important than Babylon, because Baylor is gone from ELO, and now I am the GM of ELO, because Baylor stepped down, he's gone. There's a little bit of backstory to that, which due to some Babylon cross-server bitterness between RD's GM, Mr. Black, and ELO's GM, Baylor, the Utopia blob stairs drastically changed. Before, the sides were ELO and RD against WM and BFG, but RD is now just kind of abandoned ELO to their fate of death. And so they're just ELOs by themselves. They're gonna get crashed by BFG and WM. It's gonna happen sooner rather than later. Now we're gonna say that Mr. Black, he did step down from RD to give Chansey GM, so we can say that there's a reasonable doubt that this wasn't Mr. Black's scheme, but in the opinion of the Astro News Network, this has Mr. Black's fingerprints all over it, even though it happened after he stepped down as GM. RD has changed their tag to AEP, Astro Empires Players, which is a super Chansey name, Chansey being their new GM. And they haven't dropped their pact with ELO, but leaving ELO to die is a pretty sharp step in that direction. And we'll see if they farm out the U-Zeros after they dodge yet another Utopia crash. That's been their style on that server. I mean, if you ask me, the RD and new friend WM schemes will continue, and in a few months on Utopia, after WM and BFG kills ELO and the Zeros, WM's going to drop BFG or find some way to let BFG get killed by RD, because BFG, they have those Trace, Link, and Mr. Black. They still don't get along. and this has all been sort of a deal that's like, hey, we'll let you kill ELO if you let us kill BFG. So just like jot that down in your diaries and check up on that in a couple months, because I bet that's not too far from the truth in this paranoid mind. Now, WM's GM is Scott, who I am pretty friendly with. I mean, you might remember him from famously controlling China. And we might try to find some way to do a reasonably fair crash, but ELO's activity is just not that great. And I got to work on getting people to want to log back in again, because they haven't done anything for all of 2020. So they got to remember that they got to log in here. So I got a lot of work to do. I do like taking over old servers like this. So I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to try to not let us get zero fleeted within weeks of taking over the guild, but we'll see what happens. And Cyan, you say U15. Yes, I did try to sneak some fleet up there, but ELO has no hidden jump gates. So I was like, we're just going to go in. We're going to see if they see us or not. And if they see us, we'll recall in the morning. And there's still one guy that hasn't recalled. McCaffrey, if you don't recall in the next hour, I'm going to lose my shit. If you get yourself killed by not logging in for 9 hours. Idiots. Anyway, we're going to move on from everyone's favorite server, Utopia, but we're going to move on to Antares, which is no one's favorite server, except for Atreides. Atreides seems to love Antares. But in the last week or two, the 10s and 20s, they invaded the Zeros together, and the Zeros, they all went into vacation mode again. Surprise face. So absolutely nothing new there. But maybe the 10s and 20s will stop holding hands soon. That might be fun. Breathe some life into the server. Oh, also Antares related. We really want to get everyone's favorite new GM Hobbs on the show. I tried to get him on this week, but he said he was busy. Sure. So I need everyone, if you have even no link to Hobbs at all, you need to reach out to him and let him know. He needs to come on the ANN as soon as possible. We need to hear his story. We really need to get Hobbs on the show. Oh yeah, another small note for the Zeros, the Cancer Crew Guild, they're still in VM. Their guild page says they'll be back eventually, they'll be gone or something. They didn't come out of VM yet, vacation mode, so they've been threatening to delete for a while. We'll see if that actually happens. We'll find out. Anyway, let's move on to Mystic for about 10 seconds. Mystic, they've now done a server-wide DNH, do not harm for right now. They're trying to figure out some type of war game things to do. I floated my idea for King of the Hill that we played on Elysium for a bit, but this is still kind of new. They set up a little Discord for it for the last week or two. They're just trying to kick out ideas because one side has completely won that server. There's no point in fighting. They're just trying to reshape it and try to do something on an old server. So, this is a good idea. We'll see what happens, but who knows? But that's all the other weird servers. I don't think anything else happened on any other server. We can peek into Babylon now for a second. We'll just look at the rankings before we get Clarkey and Vorlon on. Now, Ku is rank 1 because they had their super easy contest in the teens, and they didn't lose multiple crashes to the same enemy. So that's going to definitely put them on the top. If you're looking at some little individual things, Halo from the teens was the first player to reach 1 million fleet on the server, and Leet in Ku is the current rank 1 account until I usurp him and become the new rank 1 eventually, whenever that happens. But Babylon has had a little bit of action over the last 2 weeks. Despite there being 1.5 clusters fighting the other big half cluster in the Zeros, it's really not been a whole lot of big blows. What are these scuffed images? It is what it is. This is what it has always been. Wait, what? Hold on. Did I accidentally do the old rankings? Let me find out. Oh, yeah, I did. Those are the old ranks. There we go. Just blink. It's fixed now. Guess what? Ku is still rank 1. Ku does have 37 million fleet. You were just reading it wrong. I had it up there right the whole time. Let's delegate that blame away. So yeah, Ku still is rank 1 for the same reasons, because they didn't get ganked like Stonk did. Because if you look at their XP, Stonk has a lot of experience now. Look at them. They must be working real hard to earn that experience. But despite there being 3 other clusters on the server, the only things happened in the Zeros when Stonk and Void got about 6.5 million fleet got blown up. Alright, so is that it? Is that all I have little story-wise before I get into interviews? I think it might be. Oh wait, no. There is one more thing. Because I have to get into everyone's favorite segment, which is where I have to quickly promote myself before I start the interviews. And I get to thank everyone that watches and follows and does the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Those are great. Because I always have to give those friendly reminder that if you have Amazon Prime, you get your free monthly subscription to your favorite streamer on Twitch. And you get to use it every single month. There's also a donate button on the page somewhere if you're into that sort of thing. It got used once. And if you're not watching live, I do try to upload these to YouTube the next day for old people who can't figure out Twitch. And I think I actually forgot to upload the last episode, so I'll get that one up after the show today. I'm pretty sure I didn't actually do that last week, so I'll do it today. I'll get both episodes up. Look at player tech ranks by Stonk. You know what? I'm probably going to pass that because I'm pretty sure they're rank 1 because they all tech towards P ranks instead of producing fleet. That is what I think happened. But that's enough of that. I think I'm going to get into our big interview of the day. We have 2 people on from the same group, this big old Clarkey gang. Clarkey, their big figurehead, and Vorlon, who is, I believe, their Galaxy 2 commander. And we're going to talk about just their whole entire 0-0's adventure so far. They've been on the better end of it, so I'm sure they have a lot to talk about. Atreides, thank you very much for the Prime sub. I appreciate it very much. And if you give me just a moment, I'm going to be right back with Clarkey and Vorlon, so sit tight. We will be right back. Well, that's a bold claim from Anonymous, claiming, I have a good feeling that Clarkey is probably baked out of his mind. Clarkey, is there any truth to this statement?
It's definitely confirmed, mate.
Definitely confirmed. Now, there's actually the very first and most important question that actually is just for Vorlon. 2 weeks ago, Vorlon, were you able to save all the fish 2 weeks ago when you had the fish emergency?
Yes, it went well. We got to move all of them. It was 150 tanks worth of fish to 4 different houses.
Oh my god.
Because one of my friends had to evacuate his house because of the wildfires here in Colorado. So it was a big undertaking moving everything. So
I mean, do you think if he didn't have 150 fish tanks worth of water, he could have just stopped the wildfire himself using that water?
Maybe.
A little selfish there, but we'll get into the game now. So you boys are having a pretty good time on Babylon, I think. You had a few crashes that have gone your way, but actually let's go to the start. Vorlon, I believe you're in 0-2. Clarkey, I think you were in 0-0. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah, mate.
All right, so Galaxy contests. Who wants to jump in first? I believe, Clarkey, you had to deal with Top Gun and Silver Knight, and Vorlon, you got to deal with the signature Galaxy of Audi in 0-2.
That's definitely the highlight in 0-2. Go on, Vorlon.
All right, yeah. We 0-2 was fun early on. I mean, it was extremely close contest, and we held our own pretty well. But the biggest thing was, I don't know what Honda did. They were in 0-3 and 0-4, but somehow I don't know if they scuffed their jump gate rush or what, but they just never got to come down to 0-2, whereas our guys got to come up, and that was really the big changing point in the contest. As soon as we got some help from 0-1 and 0-0, we I would, Alicus and all of them would say, oh, we won the 0-2 contest, all of this. we were holding about even in O2. You know, they had a stronghold in the northern part of the galaxy, and we had kind of mid and left side, and we were all we had people who were getting hit, they had people who were getting hit, but it really came down to just, I don't know what happened with Honda, but they in '04 especially, they had their sim start, and just Jumpgate came online like a week or so after ours did.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's kind of important when you know you're fighting a larger group. If you need to reinforce, you kind of got to do that.
Yeah.
Clarky, do you want to talk about that early crash against Top Gun that has basically completely knocked them out of relevance from that first week?
Yeah, bro. They were moving the blob around. Like, we took the center. They started moving around the outside. I think it was Cammy who was over there with Silver Knight. He said, "Let's stack the blob." We saw them stacking the blob, and at that point, we just had to go for it. I think we launched that, and with 4 hours notice, when we crashed, we had 240 to their 200,000, and it really could have gone any other way. They didn't contest, I'm guessing, because they didn't have the activity. So we landed in the system, and moved over one Astro at a time until we sat on top of them, and then we waited for 15 minutes, and just to throw them off a little bit, and then we all synced in, and it was over in about 30 seconds, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Just a
remember
few
it was
enhanced
just an
fleets.
instant win, first wave over.
Yeah, really quick, mate. Heart pumping. It was close though, really, when we ran the numbers. The amount of fighters they could have got in the next 12 hours would have made the difference. To be fair.
Yep, Hydro Gyrum says, "Don't forget the strategic base delete." What does this coded message mean? I can't figure out what it means.
Strategic base delete. I think you might be referring to Silver Knight had the base that they were blobbed on, and he disbanded it. I don't know why, because he could have completely harassed us with fighter spawns and all the rest. And the guild even was told to send in sort of Corvette spawns for the next sort of 24 hours. They kept on going, so it was just free derbs at that point.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
obviously they couldn't rally to contest. But yeah, good
yeah,
game into them, man.
yeah. So, are they still like kind of fighting against you guys, or are they just chilling?
Well, we arranged a relocation pact with them guys a similar time with Audi, and
Did
they
they actually
managed.
take it?
Yeah, they took it. They managed to
Where'd
keep
they
to the
go?
terms.
They went to
Uh,
'08.
yeah, they're in '08
Top
now.
Gun? Top Gun is in '08 also?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Okay. We'll get to that before. I did not know that Top Gun also pulled the switcheroo on you guys. Before we get there, let's get to what led to this relocation with air quotes. That very first crash where where Stonk and Audi tried to go on the offense. Vorlon, I think you were kind of in charge of that defense. What the hell happened there? How did they try to go on the offense? How did you guys end up winning? What's the deal with
I,
that?
yeah, I mean they just kind of launched at us. But the big thing was, I think that they tried to have the stonk guys, they were coming from further up cluster, so they landed later,
Yeah, they didn't
but
fully sync. They came in like
they
two
didn't.
waves. It was weird.
Yeah, they came in like two waves. So, and I think, part of the thinking was, you know, I don't know exactly what diplomacy went down or negotiations with them, but it basically looked like Alicus said he was fine just trying to be their meat shield and soaking, all of the active hits, but it didn't work out that way. We after the first wave, it was, fairly even, but then the Ahoy guys said, they straight up told Audi that if Stonk came down for a crash, they would get involved. Previously they had been just staying out of our O2 battle completely, you know. But I think really that DPS and Alicus just kind of got cocky.
I can't
With
imagine.
their-
You think those two people would get cocky? That seems really out of their character.
Yeah, of course, right? But
If I can just jump in here, we were in 03. We'd pushed up to 03. We were farming some bases there. HRC had come down from 05, and there was a miscommunication where they were supposed to cover BS coming up from 01 and then go back to 05, but they went back to 05 and kind of left us exposed for 24 hours. Audi and Stonk pushed back in then. That's why we retreated back to 02, and then they pushed again because they had the better gates, so they could land before some of our fleets had landed, and we've been able to form up and restock.
Was that the end of a sentence? I didn't think it was. I
kind
thought
of
there was
railed
more.
off.
Sentence, bro.
I thought I was going to keep going. So
No, bro.
yeah, so Audi Stonk, they lost that crash trying to sneak in, and then you guys had a deal that it seemed like Audi was going to relocate out of the cluster, and I believe Audi's GM has claimed that you guys broke a pact, and that's why they chose not to relocate out of cluster and build other bases in 08 and 09. That's what I've seen from their GM in the Discord. What do you have to say about that, you guys?
I don't know, man. The last I heard, fucking Halo's friend was still trying to find him.
No, so what happened was we gave them a temporary pack so they could relocate, and I wasn't in any of those negotiations, but from what I understand, they were going to send 209 to use the higher level jump gate to send up out of galaxy, okay, out of cluster. But then, as it went on a little while, and it started with a 3-day pact. Okay, that's what was negotiated. And, we were looking, and right after the 3-day, it was right before the 3-day pact was, going to expire, they asked for an extension. And Clarkey talked to them and gave them an extension. But then we were scouting 08 and 09, and we noticed multiple bases from Audi and Honda popping up. And so then Clarkey asked Alicus what that was for, and he said, well, we were building bases in 08 and 09 because we knew you were going to betray us with the DNH, so we didn't want to be sitting on a bunch of credits. So we were going to build a bunch of bases in 08 and 09 and then disband them later. Well, that's just crazy, We had just extended the pact with them, and then they were still building bases there. So then as soon as we said, well, if you're going to build bases in 08 and 09 where, the pact's over, he's pedaled back and used that. He said, well, we're only building bases there because you canceled the pact. It's just completely crazy. I don't think he had any intention of ever actually moving out of the cluster.
His argument was that they were building bases there because the new disband rules giving you a higher percentage of your credits that you invest. I think it's fair to say there was a lot of distrust on both sides that we were trying to balance out. Those guys didn't want to be in them galaxies.
If you were going to do it for saying, I'm going to build these bases right now to get the disband later, why wouldn't they have just built 8 bases in one system on whatever Astro? They went and picked prime Astros, to actually build on spread out. They didn't build on just random shit Astros.
That was the point where I couldn't argue with myself anymore to defend said GM. So I had to just go, that's it, man. He's broken the pact. He knows what happened. I don't know why he's trying to spin. It's not going to change anything. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the 10s are going to go, oh, he stabbed those guys, man. We're going to go back home. They're still going to carry on. So it's just drama, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes there's people that like drama and stick to it. I'm one of those people, but I'm one of those people that can't help but do the wrong thing. But I'm not the only one. Sometimes you just gotta stir shit up.
Oh, bro, it's entertainment. Entertainment.
Yeah, because he's still there. He likes to cockroach and just be around and be annoying, and it seems like he wants to do that for a while, and they're going to be doing
I mean,
that
it
from early
it
to nine.
seems like now he's just kind of letting things unfold. He's he's logging in every once in a while onto the AE Discord and talking, but he's just waiting for the tens to save him, basically. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Which I mean, that's obviously going to be the next thing we talked about. It wasn't long at all till the teens came down after that, wasn't it? Like within a week after that crash, they were within the zeros cluster.
Yeah, I was pretty close after.
Yeah. So that's been everything that's been going on in the zero since then. The teens have been when you guys I know they moved down to I think '05. And you guys were
Yep.
there and you pulled out of '05 because at that time they kind of outnumbered you guys. But like while they kind of had that fleet advantage when they first came down, it has immediately swung back the other way because for whatever reason Stonk stopped producing fleet. And
Yeah.
yeah, like they started to just rush P rings, and Audi's just rebuilding all their bases. They can't really be pumping fleet hard either.
Yeah, that's not helping the problem, but I think the real issue is the tens have got like 20,000 fleet on each base, so that's at least 200,000 fleet per player that could be down here and could give them that fleet advantage back. I'm just not sure the heart's in defending Stonk and Audi anymore, especially after the '07 op. But I wish him the best.
Yeah, we can probably skip right towards talking about the '07 op. If you're not looking at the screen, I have a ton of crap all splashed over the screen here, which I'll just talk about real quick. On the bottom, there was what was there's the Stonk and Void fleet that was sitting there. Looks like he was about 6.6 million fleet there. On the top right, the GM of Ahoy put together a chart for me of what every player on their team, their losses, what they killed, derbs generated. You can see that Horatio Nelson, their Ahoy's GM, did God's work with his dreadnoughts, killing over half the blob himself. Because, as it turns out, dreadnoughts are better than bombers. They're a lot better than bombers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so who was in charge of really running that off? Well, what day did you guys land? I know it was this week, but I didn't write down what day it even was.
It was the 29th, so that would have been when Sunday morning. We landed early Sunday morning.
Today is
We
Sunday.
or wait, early early Thursday morning. Yeah, Thursday. But yeah, we had been looking at the '07 blob for a while. We at first when I saw it was around. It was when I first started looking around 5 mil. The Void fleet wasn't there yet. And then when we did, the breakdown of fleets, it was like, wow, yes, this is like 5 mil, but at that point, over 3 mil of it was still just dread rapeable. I don't know what DPS was thinking having those fleet sitting there in '07. There was literally no reason for them to be there. And they were basically just all dread rapeable fleets. I think there was 3 fleets that uh couldn't be dread rapeable. There was a few others we had to fighter drop just because of size. They were frigate fleets, but they were big enough that we had to do small drop on them first. But so we had planned when we first looked it over, we are like, yeah, we can absolutely kill this. But the problem was we were like, well, we need to be able to collect the pile quick enough because we didn't want to make the crash, do all that, and then only be able to collect a little bit. So then we spent the next 4 days basically just telling people, hey, build recyclers so we can collect within 8 hours, which is what it was for cruisers to get up from '05 or down from '09. So we wanted to have the pile completely gone before that could happen.
Yeah,
Was the main
yeah,
was what kind of stalled. And then in the meantime, while we were waiting for that, another 1.4 mil void showed up, and 2 of the bigger void fleets were Corvettes, so they were just, kind of free pickings.
Yeah, if you look at some of the battle reports, even some battleships got in on the action, just smashing corvettes.
Yeah. They want battleships, they wanted to, have some fun too, right?
Yeah, because battleships also kill bombers.
Exactly.
Yeah, because now I heard from, I think it was someone in stock had told me that DPS had noticed that there was fleet missing from your blob, but didn't tell anyone. I don't know what that was about, but that was what someone that was in the circle was telling me. So DPS knew but didn't mention it because you guys are flying. You flew over their blob in 05 to 07,
Yeah,
which is
we
already a
flew all the
super
way
risky
from
oct, but they just I guess
Yeah.
they just weren't watching
We
it.
flew all the way from 02 all the way up. We, did it with everyone sitting guildless because, we were worried about eyes in the guild, and we figured that okay, they'll probably see us, they'll notice we're gone, and they'll be able to say, okay, this much fleet is missing. What could their, target be? So we figured, okay, we might catch some inactives in 07 that don't get out in time, or something. Or we said, worst comes to worst, they decide to reinforce 07 and we just recall. But we wanted to do something. So then when we were close to landing, we're like, there's been no movement at all, nothing. So we sat guildless up until we landed just before we landed on our gate, and then we all tagged into the guild. But I don't know how DPS thought that, okay, if he did see I don't know if it's worse if he saw the fleet, saw the fleet missing and didn't say anything, or he's just saying that it's not that, just admit that he's, too lazy to actually keep tabs on stuff. It could even be that. It's very typical DPS,
Because there was
I
a rumor that
remember
something
him.
like there was a rumor
Yeah,
something like that happened on Mystic. When we
yeah,
flew from the
something
teens
like
to the
that, right?
20s, there was a rumor that he had saw it, or but there was
But
some
that time he
miscommunication
actually,
in his leadership, and nothing
well, that
happened.
time he actually flew off and he made it away, and we killed the rest of his
Oh
guild.
yeah, everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's that's really bad, But it is. I would say he has a history of doing this, But it was a lot of fun, this crash. We they didn't have very good scout coverage in 07. We managed to pick a region we had gates in where they had no bases or fleets sitting there, and their autos, I don't know, I don't think they saw us. We landed there, and then it was a 50-minute jump and to our next gate, which was another region they had no bases in, because 07 isn't one of their galaxies. They had, I think, 20 bases total in that galaxy. So we just jumped from our original landing zone to a closer gate, and then from there to their gate was only 20 minutes. So of scanner, if it wasn't autos, they only had like 20 minutes of vision on us because of our hops.
Hmm. Which is not very much time.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
So, Clarkey, there was something you messaged me about the other day that you wanted to talk about. It was about Ahoy and their GM. Where is it? Where did you write it? Oh, you said crimes against Horatio needs to be discussed also. Do we want to talk
Yeah,
about
bro.
the validity of Ahoy?
I just think Ahoy is going to be one of them things that when these guys reveal their identity, you're all going to go, oh, we were idiots for saying that. And I'm going to be there on that day, and I'm going to laugh at you all.
So you're saying that when we kicked the Horatio account out of the Discord, that was a mistake because that is a very real person.
No, I don't want to get into the argument of the Discord account. Them guys can run it unofficial, however they like, the same way you can do it. And I just think that the people who are saying that the combat multis or the stuff that's going on with Balor and it's all got a little bit out of hand, to be honest. And I just think that when these guys actually do come out, you'll understand.
Yeah, because now I'm curious. I want to be told who they are. I don't like not knowing.
Everyone's curious, mate. That's the best part. But that's where the imagination runs wild.
Yeah. I would say it's probably like your behemoth boys, but he's probably with you in your galaxy. That would make more sense.
Oh yeah, mate, they're front line in there, bro.
Yep. Also, I did want to ask about the relocators from the teens that suited up with you guys. I forget if that's HRC or not, but they settled. Oh, no, well, they changed their name now to like MC something.
MCRN from Red.
Yeah, Red Kings. Always remember, like worst guild name of the guild name list. Red Kings.
Yeah, what do you want to know, bro? Why they came to the Zeros?
Yeah. How'd you end up inviting them down with you guys having such a crowded cluster already?
Well, to be honest, mate, they came to us. It was far from a sort of peaceful situation in the Zeros. No side was winning, similar to now. Really, it could have gone either way. But the main thing that they wanted, rather than sort of a peaceful galaxy in the 20s, was someone that they could rely on and trust as an ally. The story that they told on the 10s was one of betrayal mainly, and Zoltar had infiltrated their leadership channel, and it's pretty deep, to be honest, mate. He'd kind of revealed every plan that they'd ever made, and whether the battle was going one way or the other, it was definitely the main plans were getting leaked from the leadership room and given
Because
straight to the enemy.
they thought that Pokemon was part of their multi-guild alliance. Because Derek had let me into their Babylon Discord, and I saw Zoltar was like in leadership Pokemon. I was like, oh, I guess they were playing with them. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were screwed from the start. So
rough, mate. Rough, yeah. So that's why they came to me. At that point, we weren't really in a position to help them. I made it clear. But 06 was a galaxy that was kind of empty, and I said if we could win this, we could obviously try and provide some support. And the 10s followed in straight after.
because that whole Star and Derek group, that was your one, that was your pre-server pact of a different group. That was your only one, I think.
What's that? Sorry.
That with like the Star group, that was who you had a pact with pre-server. That was your one pre-server.
No, mate. We didn't have a pact.
Zoltar not
not
even an unofficial pact with the Star group, because I think they thought
we had a kind of understanding that we were friends and that we'd be respectable enemies. We'd co-GM'd on Andro back in the day. But realistically, mate, when our groups got to around the size of 100, it became obvious that whatever we were going to do wasn't going to happen. So we made sure we started in different clusters, and that was about the best we could do. But the main proof that these guys have for a pre-server pact is what Zoltar's taken from what Stars said, which I don't know how to disprove it, because I know it's not right. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. Believe what you want, guys, but we weren't pre-server pacted to the 10s.
Yep. So yeah, I believe it. Now, do you want to talk about some predictions for the rest of the Zeros? Like, actually, let's talk about some actual numbers of what is like your guys' total mobile fleet currently. What do your enemies currently have in the Zeros?
It was. I don't know what's going on with the 10s. I think they're holding back a bit of fleet, or maybe they're going to send down in one chunk. I think they're trying to lure us into an attack. Their fleet numbers have been outproducing us realistically, and the time it takes to get to the Zeros is obviously shortening each time. We've killed the 6 million for a loss of 1 million, which is made it about level. Figures I was looking at the other day, we're talking about 50 million fleet roughly, just over 50, less than 60 on each side. But
yeah, it's still very close. Yeah.
Yeah, the real thing is we're stacked on FT, so we can't really go on the offensive.
Yeah, so they have about 50 million in just 05.
Yeah, they moved 10 million to '09 in Stonk, and that's now gone back to the main blob in '05.
Oh, one move I wanted to ask you guys about. When the teams first moved down, they came into '05, and you moved from '05 all the way down to '02. What was your reasoning for moving down to '02 and skipping over '03 and '04? Was that just because you don't have many bases there at all? It wasn't even worth protecting? Or what was the deal with that? That was my guess.
We've
Go
got. Go on,
ahead.
Vorlon. No, you go, bro.
The the biggest reason we didn't have many bases in '03 and '04, but also just jump gate wise, we weren't very strong in '03 and '04 with our gate network. So we didn't want to, send down to '03, and I think the highest gate we had there at the time was like a level 1 or 2 only.
Ugh.
So we didn't want to get stuck in '03 or '04 with on a level 1 or 2 gate, especially because we didn't have multiple gates for all the guilds. So we would have had to shuffle through, and just logistically it wasn't something we could do.
Do your relocator friends feel bad that they now have 50 million fleet sitting on their face that chased them from the teens to the zeros? Do they feel sad about that?
They're doing okay, mate. They're managing to get a bit of fleet out. There's a few guys that got caught out in '06 that I saw some battle reports of. I don't know what they were doing, but it's a welcome reminder that '06 is still not safe. And they've just got to keep getting the fleet out, mate. It's obviously not ideal, but until one side makes a play, it's going to be a kind of blob stare where we're taking little blows and little nibbles, but we're not having anything to finish it off. Do you know what I mean? There's no deciding blow.
Yeah, because when you're having one cluster helping support another cluster like that, it can really drag out. I've probably been on both sides of it, and it's just never ideal. It's never quick. It just ends up being a big old blob stare. Oh, Atreides is messaging me. I forgot to mention Atreides in Stonk. He believes he has the first P rings on the server. Day 43 P ring. Says it's a crowning achievement in Stonk because they're rushing their P rings.
Yeah, I think Void will give him a run for his money, mate. They weren't far behind.
Yeah, they're probably not. Yeah, so even though you guys killed a 6-7 million fleet, that's 6 and 7 million out of 50 million. It's not a huge super swing, but I mean it's something. It's really going to cripple. I think it's going to really cripple Stonk hopes and dreams because they lost one crash. They just lost a whole bunch of another fleet. That's going to really punch them in the stomach as far as their activity goes.
The question I'd be asking if I was the Tens is what are we defending here, and what are we risking?
I think that's what they're asking for sure.
What I can see for nothing, and from where I can see, you should be stacking 10 and getting ready for it, and making them boys take the brunt of it because they got prings now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you guys are going to be in no rush to run into the rings. No one.
Oh, mate, if they think building planetary rings is going to stop the hatred we've acquired for them, then they're going to get educated.
I'm not hitting P rings. Never. Not until I have enough fighters to drop through. I'm not touching them.
We've got boys lining up for DPS.
I think the big thing with Stonk is even before this crash in '07, they had already pretty much decided that they were, just based on their action, they cut their fleet production and started building P rings. They have this huge ally down in the zeros from the tens, and they have pretty much already said we're losing the zeros. We're gonna let our allies protect us while we just do nothing and rush P rings.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what's happening.
And that was before the '07 hit. I mean, they were already probably feeling somewhat bad, and then this happened, and I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like over there. It's like we're here rushing P rings while 10's trying to protect us, and somehow we still manage to lose 6 million fleet, in our backyard.
Because I mean, the teams are going to have to stay against you guys purely for server balance purposes. Unlike Antares, where the two biggest clusters pacted, they're not going to do that. They're never going to pact you guys on Babylon.
I mean, pretty much almost the entire server is located in the 0s and 10s.
Yeah.
You know, the 20s is small, but the 20s actually, we did see the first 20 fleet appear in 09. Hellsfire sent down his fleet, landed on a coop gate. So, but
So
20s is
confirmed.
super small.
Yeah,
You know,
20s is
but-
small. Like, yeah, I'm in there. I'm in.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
but-
There are no orders to come down.
yeah, but it's just, you know, that one fleet. You know,
but you
it's
can say it now. You can for spin purposes, you can say the 20s have invaded.
you know, it's his Corvette fleet.
Mhm,
You
the
know, I
standard.
mean,
Oh,
maybe
shit.
Hellsfire will let our dreadnoughts kill him. You know, that'd be nice.
Once I think I just finished up Warp 12, so I'll be relocating my bases, and I'm going to toss them into 0, so they won't have to use coop jump gates anymore. I know,
Oh, that's nice.
day 43 jump gate tech. That's probably the record. We had our top scientists working on it also. But yeah, I'll spill the beans on the 20s not actually coming down. But we'll talk about the teens for a second, because I mean, we've all read the Discord. We know that they're super bitter about how Stonk and Audi just aren't producing fleet anymore, and
Yeah.
just like they're just kind of stuck between just a crappy decision and a shitty decision. And they're just like, do we stay here and keep doing nothing, or in supporting them until they do their P rings? Are we going to stay forever, or do we eventually move back and then let you guys bash fleet against their rings? We'll see what happens when we get there. But yeah, I know they're super bitter about it. Yeah, Compulse is very upset about his situation. But I asked for you guys predictions on everything. Do you guys think you have anything else you'd like to talk about the Babylon 00 experience?
I
Not
don't think
really,
so.
mate.
Mm,
I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So, boys, I'm gonna thank you both for coming on so much. Finally got someone from your group to come on. I've been like fencing with wheels about it, but we just haven't had a good time. Vorlon had a fish emergency. You were remodeling a kitchen. I'm glad I could finally get you guys on.
Yeah, bro, pleasure.
But yeah, again, thanks so much, you guys, for coming on today, and I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your Sundays.
All right, mate. All the best.
All right, thanks, guys. Goodbye. All right, guys, that was Mr. Clarkey and Mr. Vorlon, two high-ranking officials in the big old Clarkey gang Zerg. I mean, maybe the anti-Zerg coalition will be able to push back against them, but right now, they've yet to strike a big blow against the Clarkey Zerg. So momentum's on the Clarkey side, non-momentum is on the anti-Zerg side. But yeah, thanks so much to those two for coming on, and I think that's going to be it, guys. That is the whole show today. I hope Clarkey and the gang, they gave you everything you were looking for regarding their Babylon talk. Now, for upcoming schedule for ANN, I will not be back in 2 weeks, because that's like I'm closing on my house on the 13th, so I'll be moving. Definitely not going to be a show in 2 weeks. If for some reason there's like a big action that happens over the next week, I'll do a show on this coming Sunday, but we know that's not going to happen. There's no chance. So it's most likely going to be 3 weeks. I do want to remind everyone that we at the Astro News Network headquarters are desperately trying to get Hobbs, GM of SF on Antares, on the show. So we need a concerted and concentrated effort to force Hobbs to get some free time on a future Sunday afternoon. But other than that, if you have a hot tip you'd like to give to the ANN, you can always send me a message in-game, Discord, Twitch, wherever you can find me. I'm all around. But as always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. And you guys have a great day.